Okay, previously I was able to share some videos about the Auca Indians, known or they call themselves the Waorani, and it's a tribe of quote unquote naked savages, and by the power of God and the truth of God's word and the love of Christ, that they actually did mission trips to India. I'm talking about the Indians, the Waorani, the savage Indians, naked savages. They took a trip to India, at least well, one of the tribesmen, one of the guys that was actually murdered, the you know the original missionary, um, Nate Saint, I think is his name. His son Steve Saint later went into the tribe himself and was basically discipled by the Waorani Indians and baptized by them. And so they have an ongoing missionary mission work, living with the Waorani Indians, and so a lot has happened since then, And I just wanted to share one story about what resulted from the contact with the naked savages. So let me go ahead and screen shares here. Okay, I'm not sure exactly where this is at, but it's going to talk about the mission trip to India.
We want him to help teach us. See, Minkai had no formal education at all. You guys want to see this video? Are you sure? Why don't we watch Grandfather Minkai going to India?
No formal education.
The people who speared his father to death when he was just a boy asked Steve Saint to return to the Amazon jungle to live with them as a man. Masters of their own world, they wanted to learn skills from the outside world that would enable them to take care for their own needs and the needs of their people. Joining the space age with the Stone Age is not easy. With two-way radios for telephones and the Amazon's grocery and meat department running wild, there were major adjustments to be made on both sides of this experiment. But to Grandfather Minkai and the Waodani God followers, the Saints were family. They wanted to help their own people, and they wanted Steve to train them to be able to help them. On the opposite side of the world, other God followers heard that the Waodani had learned to fix and extract teeth. Pastors in India wanted to learn these skills so they could show their own people God's compassion for both their felt needs and as well as their spiritual hurts. So iTech and a church in Louisville sent a training team. Training began with anatomy, bone, tooth, and nerve structure, and even blood supply. And then the pastors began with hands-on training, learning sterilization, and giving each other shots of anesthesia before even learning how to set up the iTech equipment that they would be using. The reaction in rural towns was incredible. Communities that had persecuted and even killed one of these Christian pastors now welcomed them with open arms. People turned out in mass to celebrate their first ever dental clinics. There was a special element in this iTech training course. With no healthcare experience, the Indian pastors were skeptical that they could learn critical dental skills just in days. So they contacted Steve and asked him to bring Grandfather Minkai with the team. If Minkai could learn to do this, they believed they could too. But Minkai hesitated to interfere until two trainees began working on a woman who really needed oral surgery. Not even our training dentist wanted to do this one. An infected tooth had eaten into this woman's jawbone, and there was a good chance it would be broken in the process of extraction. Now Minkai went to work like an old pro, decisive but extremely gentle. Steve held the light, and we all prayed. We wondered that day what these people would have done if things would have went wrong. But they didn't. Minkai pulled that impacted tooth without even breaking a root. Minkai wasn't done. He knew this woman had a problem much serious than just a bad tooth. He thanked Wanuni for allowing him to pull her tooth and then asked the Creator to clean her heart so she could see his very good trail. In review of the day, Steve wrote in his journal, I looked at Minkai's gentle hands and realized these are the same hands that once drove spears into my dad's precious body. My dad died for those hands. As Aslan said in the Chronicles of Narnia, when a willing victim dies in a traitor's stead, death really does work backwards. You too can use your hands to turn death into life. We at iTech would like to show you how you can become part of the iDent training program.
Okay, so they have a lot of ministries, and as a side note, they also made a flying car.
We've all dreamed of a flying car, but this man, Florida missionary Steve Saint,
We could probably get you flying this by noon.
really,
Really.
he's making it a reality.
Anybody who's ever been in a traffic jam, anybody who's ever been someplace where, trying to get out of the parking lot at Disney has thought about, if I could just fly, and this one will.
It's called the Maverick. Last year, Popular Mechanics gave the prototype one of its breakthrough awards of the year.
The Maverick is not only a practical flying car, but it's also a beefy car. They put a Subaru engine in this thing, 250 horsepower. It goes 0 to 60 in 3.9 seconds.
By air, it glides at 40 miles per hour. It's the first of its kind to get FAA approval.
That is it. It is a car. Only this one flies.
The Maverick's biggest success? It's intuitive.
For driving, you have a steering wheel and you have a brake and an accelerator, just like an automatic car, which
Like a car.
you probably have.
Yep.
Now, when you're going to fly, you see this one little button that says fly?
Mhm.
All you do to fly is you flip this up.
What is the biggest selling point of the Maverick versus another type of hybrid machine?
There is no other machine that'll do what this one will. There is no other car that will fly and go on water and go on snow.
Saint and his crew at iTech, a nonprofit organization, developed the Maverick in part to solve a transportation riddle for frontier areas like the Amazon in Ecuador, where Saint grew up. What do you do when the road ends?
Everybody that lives out there knows. The Indians all know you fly or you dive.
What's amazing is the people Saint is trying to help are the very same tribe that killed his father, a missionary pilot, in 1956. With the Maverick, Saint is continuing his family's legacy to bring aid to the Waodani tribe. Now, he says, the practical applications of their machine reach far beyond jungle survival.
You could fly over, find somebody who needs to be rescued, and you could land and then drive to them. So that would be another one. Border patrol, pipeline monitoring, ranching, and extreme sports. There's just all kinds of uses. I'm sure we'll be surprised by the uses that people put this to.
The next step,
The next step. Okay, here's the next step. Does it fly? is not the weather. There's another one I think it shows a little bit more. Okay, you get the idea, I guess. Anyway, it's what resulted from
It all started on a jungle trail. I'd been walking for about 10.5 hours with some of my Waodani friends, and I heard
Training
a
indigenous
plane
people,
flying
basic
off the
life-saving-
hills, and I just thought,
so
you know what?
yeah, it's started out with missionaries trying to reach naked savages in the Amazon jungle. It's a story that I heard when I was a kid growing up. So I guess he's explaining the origin of the flying car here.
There's got to be a better way for the average person that needs to move in the world at the end of the roads or beyond roads to get from point A to point B without having to be a professional pilot. And I knew that using the Skyway was the secret. That was the birth of the Maverick, the flying car. Now, we went through a number of stages. First, I thought we'll take a fixed wing plane, a normal airplane, and we'll just build one for people in the jungles and other frontier areas. It was a long project. It did not work. And then I realized what we've got to do is we've got to invent a new technology that fits the people that need it. We started with a powered parachute, safe, very easy to fly. In fact, one of my friends from the jungle soloed in 6 hours. In 6 hours, somebody had never flown anything before, flew by himself. So that gave us hope. But then I realized, we've got to invent a vehicle, a unified vehicle that will do air, it'll do ground, it'll do on-road, off-road, it'll do water, and it'll do snow. We started out with a strange vehicle we called the Cockroach, because finally when we first flew it, it looked like a cockroach. Then we moved from that to a vehicle that was the precursor of the Maverick. It was actually, you could drive it and fly it with a combination unified control system. We went from that to a more refined version, and then finally we came to the Maverick, which now, believe it or not, is just starting production. This Maverick is only the second vehicle that I know of in the history of the world that qualifies as a flying car and has been approved by a governmental agency, in this case, the Federal Aviation Administration. Now, the uses are as broad as medevac, that means taking somebody who's sick, who doesn't have access to a clinic or a hospital, to another place where they can get that attention, or taking a doctor or nurse to that person that needs their assistance. It also can be used for itinerant teachers, people from one area that need to be able to go from place to place teaching people things that they need. But I think that the heart of this vehicle is going to be humanitarian aid. This vehicle is capable of changing people's lives. That's our dream. That's what we've been pressing for 7 years, to develop a vehicle that the average person can use at the end of the road and beyond roads to change people's lives.
There was another one here somewhere. Anyway, it showed MAF. MAF is Missionary Aviation Fellowship. It was, let me see if I can find it. Oh well. Nine years, 8 years. I don't know if this is it.
It all started on a jungle trail. I'd been walking for about
It's one I just saw. Anyway, there was another one. Somehow it's not here. It was here, but it's not here now. Let me go to history. Okay. This is the one. Is this the one? Not sure if that's the one. Anyway. Thought it was this one, but I guess it's not. It was bouncing all over the place, so I don't know where it's at. Maverick 2 must be this one here. I guess it's this one. See this MAF, Missionary Aviation Fellowship. Oops, I'm not sure. Do some touch and goes here. There's a touch and go. Anyway, get the idea, I guess. Here's the MAF. MAF, Missionary Aviation Fellowship. Fly for Life. iTech is the company here, iTech. So that's about it. Now that I messed it all up. Anyway. So. That's about it. Let's see, we got Loriza. Can't see anything, Jungle. Auto quality. Great. Yeah, forgot the screen share. Anyway, that's about it. Yeah, it was interesting how they went into the tribe. The tribe killed 5 missionaries, and they went back into the tribe. They lived with the tribe, and now one of the people that killed Nate Saint took a missionary trip to India to pull teeth, extract teeth, and show people in India how to pull teeth and how to do dentistry. So I guess that's about it. It's what God can do through forgiveness and believing what's true.